Hello, hi, Heidi Ho, and welcome to Cast That Movie, the podcast where two nobodies from nowhere revisit some failed cinematic projects from the past, and we go back in time and we try to remedy what went wrong. We assign a new director slash visionary, as well as a new cast to realize that director's vision and to turn it into a quality piece of entertainment. And we then go one step further and we think up an original dream project. And we do the same thing there. Assign a director and assign a cast. And we debate and discuss our choices and try to come to terms with the ultimate cast and director, the ultimate package, as I like to say. I am your co-host, Joad McDougall, joined as always by your other co-host, Tom Van Horten. Tom, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. How we doing?
They're doing just swell, Tom. I have a sense of these things.
Swell like my balls or swell like you're happy?
No comment. All right. And we're off. Okay, so we usually start our show. We usually start by talking about what we're going to be talking about. So let's do that first. I will introduce here the remake. We are going to go back to, and I'm blanking on the year. I want to say 98?
That is correct. It's
okay.
98.
98. The movie is Sphere, based on one of my favorite books, actually, the Michael Crichton novel. So we are going to go back and try to fix what went wrong there, because it did tank pretty bad. And coming off of the steam of Jurassic Park, that it was Michael Crichton novels were a shortcut to success, right? Or so they thought, but it has to still be made well. So that is going to be the recast. Tom, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what are we doing this episode for our original dream project?
So our original dream project is getting into the 1985 Senate hearing on music, and particularly what they described at the time, porn songs, or the porn genre, where artists at the time in the 80s were coming out with these so-called suggestively sexual songs, promoting violence, promoting drug use. It's typically thrown at the feet of Tipper Gore, but this was a bipartisan effort from the Senate to go ahead and start pushing on basically censoring music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, squares come in all political stripes, is what we learned there. So yeah, that should be fun. Before we, I guess, go to our first quick break here, let's do what we usually do, and let's revisit last episode, any corrections or addendums that we need to add to what we discussed there. I don't have anything. Tom, do you have anything you would like to
I have something, but it was a side thing that we talked about very briefly, but I wanted to dig into it because we were both left confused. And I do have confirmation on Kurt Warner. Okay. We'll talk about Kurt Warner. He was not Mormon. He is not Mormon. He is an evangelical Christian.
Okay.
And the other thing we talked about, we brought up, I believe it was that last episode, very briefly, we talked about Guy Fieri, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, he's kind of a stand-up dude. Well, it seems like they must have been listening to our conversation, because I started seeing a lot of videos on my social media about Food Network. And one of the things they brought out was supposedly Guy Fieri is uncomfortable with homosexuals.
Oh, fuck him.
Well, hang on. According to his former producer, who he fired, he had a problem where he's like, if you're going to tell people that, if you're going to put me in front of these gay people, you need to warn me because they freak me out. However, in 2015, Guy Fieri oversaw and officiated the big wedding of the 101 homosexual couples got married. So I don't know what is going on there, but that video's gone viral as of at least for me, the last week. So I wanted to touch upon that and say, there's some misleading information on that video when it comes to Guy Fieri.
Yeah, well, there may be. I don't care for the guy myself.
Sure.
I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. Part of it's his personality. I don't get it. I don't find it entertaining. And I like Food Network stuff. I mean, I'm more of a Gordon Ramsay guy, I'll admit. But still, could it be that he did the officiating as part of like a PR thing, possibly?
There's a possible thing with that, but there's also stuff going back into 2011 where he was advocating for homosexual rights. I get it, I get the personality thing. He comes across as a real bro guy, like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And
he's got Smash Mouth hair.
He gives off the Smash Mouth vibe, right? Like, I picture him still having the chain and the baggy pants from the 90s. I get it. But I just wanted to point that out because we did the same thing when we had to make the correction when we talked about Sean Astin. So
true. Who is no dispute. He is a great guy.
No dispute. He's a great guy.
All right. Fair enough. Well, Guy Fieri may or may not be a douchebag. We'll just have to let that sit for now. Why don't we do then our first break and then come back, and then we are going to discuss the failed motion picture Sphere, and we are going to then submit our cast and director to try to fix it. So we will be right back in 1 minute or less. Are you one of those people who struggles to make small talk? Maybe it's anxiety, maybe you're shy, or maybe you're just really boring. Regardless, we have the answer. At Small Talk Big Fun, we will write you personalized anecdotes that you can trot out in any social situation. Our expert storytellers will craft a narrative for you to memorize and share down to the smallest detail to make it sound genuine. Maybe your guests want to hear about the summer you worked as a longshoreman pursuing the world's largest swordfish. Or the time you met Bret Michaels at the airport and he signed your taint. There's literally no story our staff can't make sound believable. Sign up with Small Talk Big Fun today and become the life of the party tomorrow. Welcome back to Cast That Movie, and we are jumping right on in to the recast portion of the episode. And as I've already stated a few times, we are going back to 1998's Sphere, based on the Michael Crichton novel, directed by Barry Levinson, starring Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, Sam Jackson, et al. Tom, I am going to turn it over to you now, and you can tell us, why did Sphere do so poorly?
Well, let's start there. Let's start with the fact that it did bomb. When you look at it, there are actually numerous numbers that are thrown out when it comes to this movie. Some people put the movie at 7 million or 70 million. However, most people put it at 100 million because of the expensive reshoots that had to be done. At the time, this was Barry Levinson's most expensive film. If you remember, what he's most famous for is Rain Man, which he worked with Dustin Hoffman, and Wag the Dog with Dustin Hoffman. Now, Sphere was put in active development in 1996, and it was supposed to be their Christmas 1997 tentpole. But we're saying, hey, this is 1998 Sphere. Well, just before filming was set to commence, to scale back the rising costs associated with shooting outside on a dock, they decided instead they were going to shoot indoors to have complete control, and filming was pushed back 2 months to allow construction of a massive water tank and the sets. This also caused the problem of having a claustrophobic style of filming that's in that movie and restricted the cinematography throughout the entire production. Well, Barry Levinson and Dustin Hoffman were sitting around with their thumbs up their asses and said, hey, let's make a movie. So they made a low-budget satire called Wag the Dog. And they shot that in 28 days. And then
it's a brilliant movie, by the way. I love that movie.
It's a brilliant movie. Well, the problem was Wag the Dog was supposed to come out after not before Sphere. And because of everything that was set back, because of the reshoots, and I'll get into it as well, they Swag the Dog came out first. So then you had the Swag the Dog, and then you had the Sphere movie, and by that time, people were already kind of, oh, okay, you already put out this movie. Oh, now they're doing this movie. And, 1 month before it was set to open, here's the real problem. 1 month, they weren't going to move it. Warner Brothers said, this is the date. They were doing reshoots a month before it was supposed to premiere. They are working on that. Mm. So in the DVD commentary for this, everyone kind of has this point of view of what went wrong with the film when you listen to the audio commentary for this thing.
That's sign number one that your movie flopped, is if that's what part, if that's even brought up in the DVD commentary, you got a problem.
Right. So Hoffman explains that this film really didn't meet the audience's expectations. Quoting him, if they look at this film and they say, well, this is a horror film, or this is a science fiction film, or it's a little of both, then they kind of want to satisfy it on that level. Well, there isn't that much science fiction in it. It's a lot of intellectual. On a horror level, I'm not really sure that it's frightening. It's intense, a lot of it, and tense, but I don't know if it competes on the level where everyone collectively in an audience screams bloody murder and comes 3 feet out of their seats, which is what the audience want. I'm going to paraphrase there and end it. If you noticed too, Scott, you had said that this is one of your favorite novels. It's also one of mine.
Who's this Scott you speak of?
Oh, I am so sorry, Joad.
It's okay.
Joad.
I mean, we do a whole nother podcast with our real names, so it's okay.
And I think this is the first time I've ever done that.
I've done it many times.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
For those longtime listeners, of course, your real name is Norman.
Correct.
Same as the lead character of Sphere, but go on.
Which is why we're doing it. If you remember in the novel,
Normans got to stick together.
We love Normans. The ending was different in the book than it was in the movie. Mm-hmm. And the original ending actually shot that ending, and they felt that when they felt it should be elongated. Warner Brothers did. This is Hoffman and the director in the DVD commentary again. It wasn't long enough. Assuming they to be some people at charge at Warner Brothers. When we went back to reshoot it, it was written like 3 times as long. Then we improvised within that and made it 6 times as long. When I saw it, I wish that we had left more stuff in there that we had shot the first time. But by that time, we were so rushed and we had a deadline, and Barry had to have the picture to the studio, and he was unable to play with it as much as he wanted. There just wasn't time. And speaking of the conclusion, Samuel Jackson in the commentary. In terms of continuity, I think the only person that really knew what was going on and how it was happening was Barry himself. Because by the time we get to that push the button Norman sequence, I was thoroughly confused about what we were doing and why we were doing it.
Oh my God.
But that was just me. I'm not sure if Dustin or Sharon were as confused. Actually, I think we shot a particular ending I liked in the original shoot where Dustin and I forget, but you look at Sharon and you're not quite sure she does. I don't know. They do what they do.
Sam Jackson's just always just along for the ride.
Mm-hmm. So yes, what went wrong was it was a chaotic filming. I also cut a whole bunch of this because our next piece is really long. Mm-hmm. But they even had the DVD commentary with the animators that made the Sphere, mm-hmm. and that took months. They'd go to Barry, and Barry wasn't giving them any feedback. He was just saying, "That's not what I'm looking for. Go back and redo it. That's not what I'm looking for. Go back and redo it." Yeah. So there was just problems abroad with this movie, and the fact that it was pushed back, that insiders knew that the film was still being worked on 30 days before the Hollywood premiere. Right. There was just no one was excited for this movie.
Got it. And yeah, so it sounded like studio meddling again, right? Like wanting to retool the ending, and I don't know. I remember when I learned, and I didn't know a whole lot about movies, but I didn't know who Barry Levinson was in 1998. I thought, what a piss poor choice that is for this amazing book. And I didn't like Dustin Hoffman being cast in it. I was fine with Sharon Stone, but not really with Sam Jackson. I like Sam Jackson, but I don't know it. I remember, and again, I read this when I was like 14, 15 twice. And I remember it being heavier. And Sam Jackson's got acting chops, and I think he's improved a lot. But this was late 90s Sam Jackson. I don't know. So that was my feeling at the time. And then I saw it, and I was severely underwhelmed and disappointed.
Well, you weren't the only one. As we talked about, the film took about $100 million, and I didn't get to what it actually made. Opening weekend, it only took in $14.4 million.
Ouch.
Out of a $100 million budget. Spending time over the run of the domestic gross, about $37 million. Overseas, only $33 million, which is very rare. Most of the time with an overseas gross, it tends to go over what we do domestically because there's more markets. Not in this case. Now, I'm going to agree with you. I love Dustin Hoffman as an actor. There's a bunch of movies that he's great in. This was not a good match.
Nope.
Same thing with same thing with Samuel L. Jackson. Again, you're right. This was late 90s Jackson. He was kind of typecast at this point, and I think this was his he does have acting chops. He really does. He was still transitioning to that, though. And I think this was his kind of drama role. As Dustin Hoffman said, this isn't really sci-fi. This isn't really horror. The book itself is very, very heavy intellectually. And I don't think Sam Jackson at the time was ready to make that leap like he has later in his career.
He hadn't found the subtle pockets quite yet.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about what we would do different. I am going to I'm going to start this one. I'll let you start the next one. How about that? Because I'm really excited, not so much to introduce my director, but to start to introduce them and to get your immediate reaction to that.
Okay, fair enough. Let's hear it.
But before I do that, ideally, I would like to see them remake this now. With the technology they have now. I mean, you don't need to go overboard with CGI. It's not that kind of movie, but I just think you could make the look of it so much better now than you could in 1998. But that's not the game we're playing here. So
well, hold on. Funny you bring that up. There is rumblings about it. But nice. There is no confirmed anything on it. But there is rumblings about a Sphere remake.
So it's in the ether right now.
It's in the ether, correct.
One can only hope. Okay. So my director. I picked the director of 3 Men and a Baby.
Oh, shit.
Do you know who that is?
I have no idea who the fuck that is.
Good. Okay. So we start there with the director of 3 Men and a Baby. He has directed other projects as well, though. I wasn't just going to be provocative and choose the director of 3 Men and a Baby and sit pat. Like, I mean, there's a reason. I didn't know that he directed that movie until I looked on his IMDb. He is actually the director and more well-known as a director for directing both the third and the fourth Star Trek movies.
Oh, Christ. Okay.
He's also well-known for acting in sci-fi movies. In fact, movies and television. In fact, he owes his entire career to sci-fi, which is why I think he would do right by a sci-fi project that needs a delicate touch, especially with the restrictions of 1998. I picked Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy.
Yes. You mean Star Trek movies, not Star Wars movies?
Did I say Star Wars?
I think you said Star Wars. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Star Trek.
Because I was like, oh, okay, and then you said he's an actor, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, I'm glad we corrected that now, so we don't have to do that in our correction segment. But yes, the Star Trek movies. So
Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy.
Okay. Boy, we both went outside the box for this director. My director is known for doing horror sci-fi, more horror. He also is known for doing some schlock, not gonna lie. He was the director of Beastmaster,
God.
Survival Quest, but he's also most famous for the Phantasm series and Bubba Hotep. I went with Don Cosciolari. Yeah, I butchered that name, and I apologize to you, sir.
Oh, that's okay. All right. So then who is your lead? Who is your Norman?
Michael Keaton.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll talk about that. My Norman is the Norman character is where they didn't go wrong with Dustin Hoffman, I guess, is that he's not a brawny alpha male type character, right? Like he's a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of gets wrangled in. That said, the movie needs gravitas and not just dramatic ability, but dramatic ability in an action sense, which is different than in straight up drama. So I just picked somebody that I knew could do that, and who also, if you need a lighter line, he has comedic ability that few are maybe aware he has. So I went with Liam Neeson.
Yeah, and he's been absolutely. And people that don't know, he's been acting since the '70s, so he is totally within the realm of being able to be in that movie. Okay, yes, we're gonna have some things to discuss there. So then, who is your Beth?
Yeah, like I said, Sharon Stone I thought was fine in the role.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the stronger casting choices, which I don't know if I would say it surprised me. She's certainly a great actress, but so I went with somebody kind of in a similar vein, just a well-known at the time, especially actress. And funny, I should mention, or funny you mentioning your pick for Norman. It would be a Batman reunion. I am picking Kim Basinger.
Very cool. That'd be awesome. That would have got people in the theaters.
Batman Under the Sea.
Batman Under the Sea. Okay. I also felt the same. I did not mind Sharon Stone in this movie. I think when we get to the end, I want to talk about what I didn't like about the movie, particularly what threw me off with it. But I picked someone who never in the 80s she was kind of getting there, and then she made some missteps, and now she's been in also a horror series, how she revitalized her career. But she was in Johnny Mnemonic, she was in Dragonheart, she was in Starship Troopers, and she's been in basically a lot of the Saw movies. I went with Deena Meyer.
Deena Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that name.
You remember Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
She was Flores.
Deena Meyer.
The one that Casper Van Dien was into when he couldn't be with what's her nuts, and then she ended up dying on the field. She was the second love interest. She kind of made that love triangle in Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Remember Johnny Mnemonic? Probably not.
No, not. I don't remember that so much. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking her up, and I vaguely recognize her. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
So you're trying to give her like a way back to like.
Yeah, I mean, trying to get her, because at that point, she was in 3 very big movies, and then she went to Nowhere Land and Bats, and it's like, wait, what happened here?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'll get to why I didn't care for Sphere when we start discussing our picks.
Okay, fair enough. So then, who did you go with for Harry?
We talked about Sam Jackson, the character Harry. All these characters are brilliant. They're super smart. They're intellectuals. That's kind of what's going on in this whole book.
Mm-hmm.
There's these brilliant people stumped by these really odd events that are occurring while they're investigating this object. I went with Don Cheadle.
So did I.
Yeah, when you land on it, right?
You know why? Because when I read the book, that's who I pictured as Harry.
He was more to me in the book, he was more subdued and very, the way he talked, like Don Cheadle talks in his movies, that cadence.
Yeah. Yes. But it wasn't, but this was before Don Cheadle was a movie star. You want to know how I even knew who Don Cheadle was in like the early to mid 90s?
No, how did you know who Don Cheadle was?
I watched a little show called Picket Fences.
Oh, that was it. Okay. That's the show that, okay, going into side note, inside jokes territory, people. I thought that Joad was a big Northern Exposure dude. no, he watched Picket Fences.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've never seen Northern Exposure, but I love Picket Fences. And Don Cheadle was on there, and that's kind of where I think it was his first breakout role of any sort. And yeah, I was really into the show at the time while I was reading the book. And yeah, you're right. It's just when Harry would speak in the book, it made most sense for me to pair him with Don Cheadle's voice. I don't know why, but yeah, I guess I cast that role back in 1994 or whenever it was when I read the book for the first time. So that's kind of cool.
That is really cool. So now, who's your Ted?
Okay, so Ted, kind of if I remember in the book, he's more kind of a funnier dude. Either, I don't know if funny is the right word, but a lighter character, I would say, than the rest of the main cast, right? I like Liev Schreiber. I thought he did a fine job too. I don't think that was a bad casting choice at all. I'm a fan of his, and he was fine in the role. But I wanted to go a little bit more somebody that can just, especially in the late 90s, could kind of be comic relief without having to ham it up. I went with, and I know I've tried to cast him before, I believe. I went with Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Okay. We were not similar wells, but similar mindsets. I went with more, yes, he's supposed to be the comic relief. And again, Liev Schreiber also, I think, worked as casting. I think he was up, you got Sharon Stone, then you got Liev. So I thought that was great. I did the same thing. I was looking for someone a little bit more goofy to go with it, to break it up. However, I landed on Jason Lee.
Okay. Okay, so right around, it'd be a couple years after Mallrats.
Exactly.
So Chasing Amy type era.
Chasing Amy type character. Yep.
Okay.
Where he wasn't quite as over the top as he was as I forget his name in it. That's total sacrilege to me. But he wasn't as over the top, and he was more subdued.
Okay.
More of a Banky.
Got it. Okay. So we go to Barnes. Who did you pick for your Barnes, the growling captain of the vessel?
Yeah. So as I picked Deena Meyer, I wanted to go with someone also that was under the radar in 1998 that I really enjoyed, and I thought could do this character well for what it was, because I loved him in Dark City as John Murdoch, Rufus Sewell.
Rufus Sewell, you mean?
Yep, Rufus Sewell. Excuse me.
No, it's okay. Yeah, okay. I went with Michael Ironside.
Oh, you pulled an ace in the goddamn you. All right.
So I mean I like Peter Coyote, or as I call him, the poor man's Kevin Costner. Fine, he does a fine job in the role, but I figure it's kind of a one-dimensional role, and Michael Ironside's a pretty one-dimensional actor. So what he does well. Just don't ask him to do anything more. He's like a fullback in football. You need a yard, I'll get you 2. You need 3 yards, I'll get you 2.
Yep, exactly.
So that's Michael Ironside, and so that's who I went with. So let's talk about our picks, shall we?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So director.
Before we begin, I want to get back to Joad. I don't know about you, but my biggest problem with this movie was the tone. Dustin Hoffman is great for Dustin Hoffman, but he doesn't get upset in the way that you should in a horror movie sense.
Right.
He's always kind of subdued, and when he's upset, it's more of a drama upset than it is I'm totally out, I'm at my wit's end, I don't know what's happening. He's just more, I don't want to say subdued, but that's the word I'm looking for here.
No, I hear you. Yeah, absolutely. And that's that's what I'm saying. The difference between dramatic acting and action acting, and
yes,
or action drama or whatever.
And then you pair that with Sharon Stone, and that didn't work very well. And then you have Sam Jackson, who at the time was just Sam Jackson. I'm not taking anything from it, but it was basically Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
And so the part for me was just you really get the sense that no one knew what the tone of the film was supposed to be, and you just had these actors doing these things, and everyone was like, "Well, fix it in editing," and no one ever fixed it in editing.
Right.
So let's talk about the directors. All right, go on.
Okay. Yep. So I had Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock, and who'd you have again?
Don Cassiari.
Yeah.
Who did the thing? I'm gonna give you Spock, dude. Leonard Nimoy. Yeah, fuck you. That's an ace in the hole for me. You pulled 2 on this bitch. So yeah, Nimoy's got it.
All right. Well, I'll give you Michael Keaton then for Norman. I think he has, just proof as him being Batman. He can do an action movie. Certainly has that bone where I just don't think Dustin Hoffman does.
Yeah, and that's not to take away from Dustin Hoffman. It's just he doesn't seem, he can't play insane stress crazy. Right.
So yeah, I'll give you Michael Keaton, and I'm assuming you're going to go with my Kim Basinger. Then
I'm going to go. Yeah, absolutely, yes. Okay. So we already Harry. There's no doubt we landed on the same person.
Yeah.
What about our Teds?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I like both actors. We're both going for, the funny guy. Yeah, I was, picturing me, or would I choose Philip Seymour Hoffman? I'm thinking that's a couple years away from Twister.
Yep.
And it's right around his Talented Mr. Ripley, but I'm fine. I like Jason Lee. I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot we're ever going to find to cast him in.
Sure.
Honestly, I hope but as opposed to Philip Seymour Hoffman, which I think he's got a lot more, a lot more range than Jason Lee. So yeah, I'm fine with Jason Lee being our Ted. I'm cool.
All right, perfect. And yeah, I have to agree. I didn't want to push in that direction because we have in the past, but I wouldn't want to waste Philip Seymour Hoffman on this.
All right.
And at Barnes, I'm going to go with I have to go with Michael Ironside. Absolutely.
I thought we determined that as I revealed it.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to go with Michael Ironside. I think this would have been a much better movie.
Oh, yeah.
It's unfortunate that pre-production, they had an idea where they were going to go. And then right when they're about to start filming, Warner Brothers came in and said, we don't want it here. You guys got to make a set. So that put them off. And then Warner Brothers wanted $30 million fucking dollars in reshoots, and they're editing it 30 days before it's going to premiere.
Right. And, again, it's Barry Levinson. The guy is not a sci-fi director. I think you need somebody from the world of sci-fi. I get that 3 Men and a Baby is not sci-fi, but Star Trek is definitely, it's the father of sci-fi.
Absolutely.
So I think they trust Leonard Nimoy more than you would a Barry Levinson. And I think he would have just more foundation and just do it right from the outset and realize the vision, especially in one that's more cerebral, because he's a smart cat.
Yes, and I think that's where the problem was that why they brought in Levinson was because it was cerebral, because of Rain Man. And, now you got this, and we got Dustin Hoffman. Boy, in marketing, we could say they're back together. And then what screwed that in marketing was Wag the Dog.
Right. So then it looks like it's just they're like overkill. Like, oh God, they're back in a year later. It's another Dustin Hoffman, Barry Levinson team up, and then it's a totally different genre than either of them are known for.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a terrible choice.
Terrible choice.
Okay. Well, that's fair. I think I'm happy with that cast and director. I think we definitely picked the best of the best there. So let's take our next break, and then we will come back. I got an item of casting news I would like to discuss, and then we will dive into the parental advisory hearings of 1985, the Senate hearings, with some very, very colorful cast for this one, definitely. So you do not want to miss this. All right, we'll be right back in a minute or less.
What is life? Is it really fleeting? Are we really in a reality? Or is reality inside us? You seek answers, but do you even know the questions? At the Church of the Empty Sky, we will give you the tools to ask the questions to life's answers. They're all at your fingertips. Will you reach out and grab them? Or will you wander forever in despair and loneliness of chronic uncertainty? The path is yours, and yours alone. Let us help you find it. This Sunday, at our annual Summer Gelato Festival, you should come and enjoy the various flavors of gelato, and maybe, just maybe, the various flavors of your soul. What does it all mean? Is the meeting important? Or is it the journey to find the meeting? Are you ready to see? To finally see? Please help yourself to some tasty frozen goodness and come ponder with us at the Church of the Empty Skies annual Gelato and Healing Through Hard Touching Festival in Guru Gregory's backyard. Clothing optional.
Damn, I look into the stars this night. Come to crystallize our city.
Welcome back to Cast That Moving Picture. And let's say it's time. Let's play a couple games. What do you think?
Game time. Game
Game
time.
time.
Pants off. Game time.
Well, the first thing's not really a game per se, although everything we do is kind of a game.
Oh,
But we decided to just jump right into Sphere because we kind of sort of forgot the order we do things usually. Just to be honest with y'all.
Yeah, we're just gonna call ourselves out for our fuckery.
Yeah.
Sorry, people.
We talked about how we were gonna play it up. We're just restructuring the show this weekend. It's like, yeah, fuck it. Nobody cares. Anyway, so we're gonna do our casting news now. And then we're going to jump right into our game right after that, our top 3 game. So the casting news, first off, do you have anything, Tom?
I do not, sir.
Okay, well, good thing then I do. I have this piece of casting news that I think is something that might pique your interest. It turns out Dave Franco, do you know Dave Franco?
Isn't he the brother of James Franco and they did the Disaster Artist together?
Yeah, he played Greg.
Yes, and wasn't he part of the? No, I'm thinking that was Casey.
Casey Affleck.
I was thinking Casey Affleck, but yes, I know.
We don't talk about Casey Affleck. I'm just kidding.
Go on.
It's like we don't talk about James Franco, I guess.
We don't.
So many people just being canceled. So yes, Dave Franco. Disaster Artist. He was also in Neighbors movies. He is set to star in the Vanilla Ice biopic To the Extreme.
Holy fuck.
I don't know if anybody can do a better Vanilla Ice than Jim Carrey did on In Living Color, so I'm skeptical for that reason alone, but I guess since that is not something we can go back to happening now that Jim Carrey's like 60, I guess I don't know. I'm curious to see how it turns out. I don't know how big of a Vanilla Ice impersonator Dave Franco might turn out to be. I guess we're going to learn.
2 things there. I'm kind of glad that we didn't get Jim Carrey as Vanilla Ice for a biopic because, my God, if he went method like he did for Man on the Moon, we'd be really fucked. We would have Jim Carrey rap albums, I'm sure. Jim Carrey featuring Snow. So so I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm gonna have to see this because I love the riff tracks, which is the guys from Mystery Science Theater. They do the Vanilla Ice movie.
Cool as ice.
Cool as ice. And
so embarrassed to know that.
I love it. They just tear into it, and my God, that movie. So if they're gonna go into like the part where they made this movie, I want to see it.
Or the Ninja Turtles movie.
Or the Ninja Turtles. Like, I want to see the backstory of, Rob Van Winkle hanging out with fucking the Ninja Turtles. And if he blows up on MTV. Like, there's a lot of cool things behind the scenes that would be interesting to see about Vanilla Ice or Rob Van Winkle.
Oh yeah, his whole copyright battle over Under Pressure. Just the little tings. It's a different thing entirely. Just a little ting at the end there. Were you a Vanilla Ice fan in your younger days?
No.
Don't say it like that. I was 10.
I'll say this. No, I was not. I was very different musically. As a kid. No, I didn't get into rap. I didn't get into Vanilla Ice. I didn't get into any of that shit. Dude, when I was 10 years old, I was listening to Sting albums.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Oh, I envy your 10-year-old self.
Right? Yeah, I was...
Yeah, you don't like Sting now. How does that add up?
God, I mean, I do, but I'm kind of burnt out on Sting, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I was totally different musically. I was also listening to, when I was 10 years old, They Might Be Giants.
Oh, yeah.
And, punk. I was more in like punk and just avant-garde stuff.
Giants, punk, the Ramones, Sting.
Yeah, the Dead Milkmen. I loved the Dead Milkmen when I was 10.
Sting.
And Sting. So... Yeah, that was my take on music. So no, I was never a Vanilla Ice fan.
Fair enough. All right. Okay, so that's our casting news. We are curious. Would you say
I'm
curious?
Very curious.
Curious.
If it's a comedy, I'm all in. If it's a serious biopic, I'm going to have my reservations.
Oh, okay. Well, it probably depends on who the pick to direct it, right?
Right.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to our game, our top 3 guilty pleasures this episode.
Oh, now my pants are off. Now pants off. All
right, as they are. Yes, our top 3 guilty pleasures, films that we know we probably deep down shouldn't like, yet we do. Guilty pleasures. It's different for everybody, right? Like, I mean, I'm gonna assume neither of us have like Legally Blonde on our lists.
No, sir.
But you would find people that are like, no, it's actually a solid. They're proud to like it, and other people are like, it's so embarrassing, but I love that movie. It's that kind of thing. So,
yes.
So it's subjective. Anyway, I'll start. My number 3 pick, just kind of piggy tails off of our last discussion. It is Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, starring Jim Carrey. I know I shouldn't like this movie. I watched it for the first time when I was probably like 13, 14, which was its target demographic. It's stupid humor. It's Jim Carrey, kind of his. I mean, I was a big In Living Color fan as well, so I already knew what Jim Carrey was capable of. The physical contortion of his face and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't watched it recently, but I'd say within the last few years, and it still makes me laugh. So yeah, Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, terribly made, just slapdash movie that I enjoy.
Fair enough. I'm not going to judge you on that one. My number 3, I shouldn't like this movie, let alone the series. Paranormal Activity.
Oh.
I'm embarrassed to say I like those because it is an hour and a half of nothing fucking happening. You watch this movie and it's like grass is growing for like a 5-second jump scare at the end. I shouldn't like it. I should not like it, but I do. I don't know why.
That's a good pick. I think maybe part of it is because you believe in ghosts.
Whoa. Let's not put words in my mouth here.
Okay.
I don't believe
I have seen you ghost hunt. So.
I have ghost hunted. But I'm not saying full out. I believe in Paranormal Activity, but I don't believe in Casper the Friendly Fuck Ghost. You know what I mean? I believe that there are things out there that are, but my idea of ghosts is probably not what other people's idea of ghosts are either. Because I'm not a Christian, I don't believe in heaven and hell. So, my idea of what a ghost is not what the average person's idea of a ghost is. So, I believe in paranormal or supernatural activity.
Gotcha. Okay, so how about your number 2 guilty pleasure?
So this is more in line with your Ace Ventura pick.
Okay.
I don't know why I like these, and I'm so far above this. It's the Jackass movies, dude. It's the Jackass movies. I shouldn't like seeing a guy staple his fucking nutsack to his leg, but I do. I'm sorry.
You're tapping into your juvenile inner child.
Totally.
It's you're hearkening back to your punk days when you used to listen to Sting.
Cocksucker, go on. What's yours?
All right, so mine is, oh my God, I the amount of things wrong with a movie like this, or the reason why me as a woke liberal shouldn't like a movie like this. There's a lot of reasons. For one thing, it's a remake of what many would say it's not a remake per se, but in spirit a remake of what many would call a much better movie. And it's about a prep school.
Ooh.
A bunch of privileged white kids at a prep school.
Mm-hmm.
And just elites everywhere. It's the Emperor's Club with Kevin Kline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. I did not foresee you liking that one.
I love that movie. I don't know why, but it's like when they get to the bit where Emil Hirsch, like his character goes bad, and like Kevin Kline's character had put all this effort. I don't know. It's one of those movies of, like the good guy tried to save the bad kid and it doesn't go well. I don't know. It's stupid, but it's just a bunch of privileged rich assholes, in a privileged white setting. I feel gross just talking about it. I'm a little embarrassed now. Let's move on to my number 1.
You mean my number 1?
Oh, okay, sure.
No, I'm sorry. Oh, that was your number 2. I'm sorry. Yes, that was your number 2. Okay, what is your number 1? What is your number 1, sir?
Okay, well, my number 1 is a movie that is a not modern day, but it's a B movie well after B movies were established, right? It could have had a bigger budget, would have made it worse, but the acting is very B movie-ish. Like, there's better sci-fi than this for sure, but all the parts come together and make it work, and it's one of my favorite movies. It is Tremors.
Dude, that's not even a guilty pleasure, is it? I love Tremors. I mean, if you just say Tremors 5, I'd go, okay, that's a guilty pleasure blow. But
no, Tremors. I mean, it's a bunch of people get stranded and have to avoid a monster. It's been done a billion times before. As much as I love some of the acting, it's bad acting. Fred Ward is a bad actor, but I love him in this, and that's not right.
Whoa, he was great in The Adventures of Remo Reigns. I'm just gonna say no. Remo Williams, no.
I don't know how he made it as an actor, but based on stuff like this, but he did somehow.
He did. He did it very successfully.
Yeah. So yeah, there's nothing is like top notch, but it all works, and I love it.
So my guilty pleasure, I'm gonna go with a specific movie, but I'm gonna give a free plug to a company called Full Motion Features. Are you familiar with this?
No.
Okay, so there's a movie company called Full Moon, and they have an app, and it's called
Full Moon or Full Motion?
No, Full Moon.
Okay.
And they did a bunch of like really low grade B horror, a teen A, Conan knockoffs. I mean, They were basically the American version of the Italian companies that would do rip-offs. They were the original Asylum, essentially.
Okay.
And we got Gremlins came out. They did Hobgoblins. Okay, this is this company, and
Nice.
I signed up for a year subscription for their thing. And what I got with it for signing up for the year was a 12-disc Blu-ray box set of the Puppet Master series. And that is my guilty pleasure, Puppet Master. I should not like Puppet Master. It is awful. It is terrible. Yet I giggle and laugh and love it when those creatures and those little dolls, like the one with the little head spinning on it, he's going, I'm like, I can't explain it. But yeah, I'm super embarrassed. Like, I would never tell anyone I like the Puppet Master series except on a podcast where everyone can hear it.
Yeah. See, I was expecting you to say Dune.
Dune to me is not a guilty pleasure, so no. I will rightfully and proudly tell people I love Dune, and they can suck my scrot. I don't care gender when it comes down to if they don't like it.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the original Dream Project. Tom, I am going to turn it over to you and tell everybody, why should we care about this project we're about to cast?
Oh, fuck. Well, I'm going to also kind of make this interactive a little bit with you in this one, because there's going to be a part where we're going to play a little game.
Ooh, we like our games.
We do like our games. So the labels themselves, so what you need to understand is before 1985, music was free reign. There was no such thing as warning, parental explicit lyrics or whatever. It was just music was music. Well, things changed when Tipper Gore gave her daughter the Purple Rain album. Her daughter was 10 at the time, and was shocked when she heard the song Darling Nikki.
Love that song.
Love that song. I love that song so much, I've done it for karaoke and have been kicked off stage while doing it.
Yes. As soon as you get to masturbating to a magazine line, karaoke DJs tend to
cut off and say, you can get down, sir. Yep. And I go into it knowing full well I got a 50-50 shot of completing this song.
How high is karaoke DJ tonight? Let's find out how cool he is with masturbating to magazines and a song.
Yes. So Gore, Tipper, who is the wife of, at the time, Senator Al Gore, also got together with Susan Baker, who was the wife of at the time of the Treasury Secretary James Baker, Pam Hauer, who was the wife of Washington realtor William Hauer, and Sally Newvis, who was the wife of the former Washington City Council Chairman John Newvis. Oh,
they were like the original Karen squad.
They were the original Karen squad, and it basically was called the Wife's Club. It was derogatory called the Privileged White Club or whatever, White Wives Club, and that's how it started. And then became the parental. They started the Parental Music Resource Center. Okay, that's what they called themselves. And eventually, in the late 90s, it was up to 22 participating members before they got shut down. Now, concerned about explicit content in music for younger fans, they basically pulled on the political strings of their husbands and said something needs to be done about this. And they came up with a group compiled. The group compiled a list of songs dubbed the Filthy 15 that they felt fell under the classification of, quote, porn rock. And to give an idea of how they wanted albums to be rated, by the way, they wanted it rated similar to the way the MPAA did it, but instead of general PG and R designations, they wanted to have X for profane or sexual explicit context, O for occult references, D/A for drugs and alcohol, and V for violence. Much like what you get now on Hulu when you watch something, this is rated M because of XYZ. This is what they wanted on music.
Right.
Joad, do you know the Filthy 15?
Well, Darling Nikki, obviously. Aside from that, I don't know. I mean, is there a Two Live Crew cut on there?
Boy, you would think, wouldn't you? No. Okay, so this is the little game here. I knew this one was gonna take a little bit longer. We talked about that already. People. Another
game.
I'm all right. I'm gonna give you a couple shots here because I don't want to make the game too long. So I'm gonna let you list off 3 artists, and if you get one right, then I'm gonna let you continue. You know, we're gonna basically play Hangman, but you only get 3 chances. All right. In a way, so you're gonna name an artist. I'm gonna say yes or no. If you say yes, you get a guess again. You don't lose any of your 3 lifelines. Go.
I'm guessing artists, so this is artists or songs.
You could guess. I don't think you're gonna get the song, so I'm gonna give you artists. It's gonna be a lot fairer.
Okay, so we're talking 1985.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Prince because I know that one, right?
Yep, that's number 1. That's number 1 with a bullet. That was the number 1 song.
Okay, let's say Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Nope.
Well, Frank Zappa.
Nope.
Wow, shit! I'm down to my last one already.
Down to your last one.
Motley Crue.
I think I'm gonna double check. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they had the
Still alive.
song "Bastard," and when they did this Filthy 15, they took the songs and made a compilation of what they considered to be the bad lyric. So in this case, for Motley Crue's "Bastard," it was "Out go the lights, in goes my knife, pull out his life, consider that bastard dead."
Okay. So porn rock.
Mm-hmm.
Shit. So I guess we'll stick with the butt rock genre then, since I got one off of that. Or actually, no, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go with Judas Priest.
Judas Priest, yes, number 3 on the list for their song "Eat Me Alive." Grown in the pleasure zone, gasping from the heat. I'm gonna force you at gunpoint to eat me alive, squealing in passion as the rod steel injects. Mm-hmm.
So romantic.
Very romantic.
Okay, well, I'm gonna stick with. I found an in here, I think, with Judas Priest, and you mentioned the occult is a big thing in violence. So I'm gonna go Metallica.
No.
Oh, can I get one more?
What's that?
Can I get one more?
You can get one more.
Okay. How about Megadeth?
No.
Well, then they weren't listening to the right music.
This is the point. Okay, so I'm going to go through these. We already talked about some of them. I'm going to give you the lyric the lines that they thought were offensive. Number 2 was Sheena Easton with her song "Sugar Walls." Blood races to your private spots. Lets me know there's a fire. Come spend the night inside my sugar walls.
Oh, it's poetry.
It's poetry. Number 4, Vanity, with her song "Strap On Robbie Baby." Come on and stroke me. Strap this thing on tight. If you want to glide down my hallway, it's open. Strap yourself in and ride. Which was a song that she wrote to her boyfriend at the time, Robbie somebody other. We already talked about Motley Crue. Number 6 was AC/DC. Let me put my love into you. Don't you struggle. Don't you fight. Let me put my love into you. Let me cut your cake with my knife.
Oh, God. All right.
Number 7, Twisted Sister. We're not going to take it.
Oh.
We'll fight the powers that be. We're not going to take it.
Oh, that's so controversial.
So controversial. Madonna. Dress you up. Gonna dress you up in my love all over your body. That was number 8 to these people. Number 9, Wasp. With their song "Animal, Fuck Like a Beast."
Oh, man. It's the first time they found a wasp offensive.
Right? I got
bum, bum,
bum, bum, bum. I got pictures of naked ladies lying on my bed. I'm making artificial love for free. I start to howl in heat. I fuck like a beast.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious.
Yes. Number 10, Def Leppard.
Oh, I was gonna pick them, but I thought I can't remember any song they did that was that out there. But which one did they hone in on?
High and Dry, Saturday Night. Saturday, I feel right. I've been drinking all day. I got my whiskey. I got my wine. I got my woman. And this time the lights are going out.
What the fuck? Okay, so it would be every single like old country song would have to be on this list then if it's gonna be drinking.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. This was on their Filthy 15. Number 11, a band called
Karens.
Fucking Karens. We've always dealt with Karens. Number 11, Merciful Fate, Into the Coven. This is a Denmark band, by the way, so I don't know how they found them.
They're invading our country with
They're invading our country with their Denmark Satanism.
Danish porn rock.
Come into my coven and become Lucifer's child.
I love it.
Right? Number 12, Black Sabbath, for their song Trashed. This is after Ozzy left the band. I drank a bottle of tequila and I feel real good. I knew I wouldn't make it to the car, just wouldn't make it. Number 13, Mary Jane Girls. Are you familiar with the Mary Jane Girls?
No, but my curiosity is piqued based on the name. Please go on.
Yes, the Mary James Girl. Do you know a little old man by the name of Rick James?
Oh, of course.
Well, Rick James had a backup singer group, and one day Rick James said, "Hey, you girls should make an album." So they called themselves the Mary Jane Girls, and he produced it. Their song, "In My House." When it comes to making love, I'll satisfy your every need and every fantasy you think up.
What?
Yep. And number 14, a band called Venom, for their song Possessed. I drink the vomit of priests, make love with the dying whore, Satan as my master incarnate, hell blessed to the unholy host. This
parody.
I know, this scared white women and white people to Senate. And I'm going to get to that. It's not just white women. And finally, number 15, who I think is the most villainous of this group, Cyndi fucking Lauper.
Oh my God. Which one?
For her song, She Bop. I want to go south and give me some more. They say I better stop or I'll go blind.
I love Cyndi Lauper so much.
Me too, dude. Me too. I was born the wrong time because I would have married that woman in a heartbeat if I could have.
Well, she wouldn't have married you, but go on.
Well, you know, she has kids, so you're right. She wouldn't have married me. But a man can dream. So I want to point out that why people bring up Tipper Gore at this point was because she was the most vocal and was the one that was kind of front running all of this. But I want to make it very clear that this was, when they talked to the senators and they played this stuff for the Congress, this became a bipartisan effort from the U.S. Senate. And they were going to make this happen. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
To bring a point, Paula Hawkins was brought in as a supporting witness. Now, she is a Republican, and very interestingly enough, she's the only woman ever elected to the U.S. Senate from Florida.
Mm-hmm.
She was the second woman ever to be elected to the Senate from the South, and she's the first woman in the country to be elected to a full Senate term without having a close family member previously serve in a major public office. So she presented 3 record covers, from Pyromania by Def Leppard, Wow by Wendy O. Williams, and Wasp by Wasp. And then she played music videos for Hot for Teacher by Van Halen and We're Not Gonna Take It by Twisted Sister, commenting, and I quote, "Much has changed since Elvis' seemingly innocent times. Subtleties, suggestions, and innuendo had given way to overt expressions and descriptions of often violent sexual acts, drug-taking, and flirtations with the occult. These record album covers, to me, are self-explanatory."
Oh, my God.
Then they brought Susan Baker on the group, and she testified, and I quote, "There are certainly many causes for the ills of our society, but it is our contention that the pervasive messages aimed at children which promote and glorify suicide, rape, sadomasochism, and so on have to be numbered along the contributing factors." I'm going to skip this next part because it's part of my notes, but because I'm going to bring this up. Now, the National PTA Vice President for Legislative Activity, Millie Waterton, related the PTA's role in the debate and proposed printing the symbol R on the cover, a recording containing sexual language, violence, profanity, the occult, and glorification of drugs. In addition, they brought in Joe Stussy, a music professor at the University of Texas in San Antonio. spoke regarding the power of music to influence behavior. He argued that heavy metal was different than earlier forms of music, such as jazz and rock and roll, because it was church music and had one of its central elements as an element of hatred. Yeah. Well, who were the opposing people that went and met up with this at this Senate group? Well, during a statement, musician and producer Frank Zappa showed up. John Denver showed up.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude. Love John Denver.
And Dee Snyder from Twisted Sister. He showed up. So, Frank Zappa, and I quote, "The PMCR proposal is an ill-conceived piece of nonsense which fails to deliver any real benefits to children, infringes on civil liberties of people who are not children, and promises to keep the courts busy for years dealing with the interpretation and enforcement problems inherent in the proposal's design." He went on to say that this is all a front for the HR 2911 bill, which was the proposed blank tape tax. The major record labels need to have HR 2911 whiz through the committees before anyone smells a rat. One of them is chaired by Senator Thurman, who is here today. Is it a coincidence that Mr. Thurman and his wife are affiliated with the PMRC? And then he said, then he proceeded to say, a couple of blowjobs here and there, and bingo, you get a hearing. So, folk rock musician John Denver referred to the proposed labels as censorship and stated that he was, quote, strongly opposed to censorship of any kind in our society or anywhere else in the world, and that in his experience, censors often misinterpreted music, as was the case for his song Rocky Mountain High.
Yep.
And compared the PMCRC proposals to Nazi book burnings and expressed his belief that censorship is ultimately counterproductive. To quote Mr. John Denver, "That which is denied becomes that which is most desired, and that which is hidden becomes that which is most interesting. Consequently, a great deal of time and energy is spent trying to get to what is kept from you." When Denver came up to give his speech, many expected him to side with the PMRC. Dee Snyder. Now, Dee fucking Snyder, man. This is really an interesting case. So Dee Snyder was the frontman and lead singer for Twisted Sister. Mm-hmm. And by coming out and doing this, he actually said, this is going to kill my career because I'm essentially playing a character and I'm selling a character. But I have children, I'm married, and essentially this did kill the Twisted Sister gimmick for him. But he testified that he did not support the record president Gorsuch's unnecessary, unfortunate decision to do such. Like John Denver, Schneider felt that his music had been misinterpreted. He defended the lyrics of Twisted Sister's song "Under the Blade," which had been interpreted by the PMRC to refer to masochism, bondage, and rape, and that "We're Not Gonna Take It" was accused of promoting violence. He said "Under the Blade" was inspired by a band member's surgery and was about the fear he imagined he would experience undergoing surgery, announcing that the only sadomasochism, bondage, and rape in this song is in the mind of Miss Al Gore. Further, he stated Miss Gore was looking for sadomasochism and bondage, and she found it. Someone looking for surgical references would have found it as well. The full responsibility for defending my children falls on the shoulders of my wife and I, because there is no one else capable of making these judgments for us. Notable later on, Frank Zappa would actually record snippets of the hearing and put it into his audio collage called Porn Wars and released on the Frank Zappa Meets the Mother of Prevention album.
He was a troll before a troll was a thing.
He was a troll before a troll was a thing. Well, on November 1st, 1985, before the hearing ended, unbeknownst to the general public and the artists that were testifying, the RA, the Recording Industry of America, made a secret deal with the senators and already agreed that they would do a voluntary modified label. The now legendary parental advisory, in place of demand for more content-specific labeling. So later in his years, when asked about this with Dee Snyder, he said there was no way for us to win. We might as well not have been invited there because all of our point was being there was mute because the record industry already went and made a side deal. Now, the system was by no means perfect. It was self-regulating, and the label was somewhat unclear. Frank Zappa, famously, there was a confusion for his album called Jazz from Hell, owing it to the use of hell in the title, and it was given horrible lyrics. It was the for lyrics. The problem was, it's an instrumental album. There was no lyrics on the goddamn album. The most offensive thing on there was a controversial chord change. Tipper Gore would go on in 1987 to put out a book called Raising PG Kids in an X-Rated Society. Now, we talked about this where you brought up Two Live Crew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, porn rock was the main focus of the PMRC congressional hearing. It was the rising popularity of gangster rap and explicit rap in the late 80s that really motivated parental groups to pressure on the parental advisory labels. NWA Straight Outta Compton was the first album to get a PAL in 1988. Musicians were worried that by having this label, it would lead to record stores refusing to carry their albums, which became true when U.S. megastore Walmart announced that they would no longer carry albums that had the label. However, as John Denver once said, and most parents know, when your child can't have something, they fucking want it. So when these albums were getting the PAL, they were finding, the companies and the records and the producers were finding, hey, we're getting more sales because we got notoriety because we have this. And on the Straight Outta Compton album, they released a song called Parental Discretion is Advised to celebrate the explicit nature, knowing that kids would do it. Now, over the years, musicians have parodied, this is a part I want to bring up, have parodied, criticized, and downright harassed Tipper Gore through interviews and songs. And again, I want to alliterate because, yes, Tipper Gore was, this was the Karens, you could say it started with the Karens, but really, in this particular group, if the husbands hadn't agreed to this and do this, and we really break it down, think about that for a second. There was no way that this could have been feasibly possible to have this run by the government, because that means every album the government would have to listen to, someone in the federal government would have to listen to and decide what was going to be on. And to conclude this, I'm just going to bring up a few of these things that occurred that people made fun of Tipper Gore with. Danzig's 1988 song, Mother, was the only song that was specifically about Tipper Gore that made it into the top 50 with lyrics such as, Mother, tell your children not to walk my way. Tell your children not to hear my words. What they mean, what they say, Mother. That is specifically written to to Tipper Gore.
I had no idea.
1989, Ice-T's album called The Iceberg, Freedom of Speech, Just Watch What You Say, contains criticism in one particular song. Freedom of Speech is an attack on Tipper Gore. Yo, Tip, what's the matter? Ain't getting no dick. You bitching about rock and roll. That's censorship, dumb bitch. The Constitution says I got a right to speak. Say what we want, Tip. Your argument's weak. In his book, The Ice Opinion, Ice-T wrote, quote, Tipper Gore was the only woman I directly called a bitch on any of my records.
Oh, God.
On You Should Have Killed Me Last Year, his outspoken outro to his album OG Gangster, he cursed the CIA, the LAPD, FBI, George H.W. Bush, and Tipper Gore.
Jesus.
All right. So we know the craziness of what this was. Joad, who is your director?
Wow. Okay. So yeah, a lot of craziness. You got to have a comedy bent to it, for sure, because it's a little ridiculous. At the time, it maybe felt like it belonged in the mid 80s, but looking at where we're at now, we're looking back at the story and making a modern film about it.
Sugar walls. Sugar walls.
It's a bit of a circus, right? So I wanted a director that is established in both absurd comedy and serious drama. He directed Anchorman, but he also directed The Big Short. I went with Adam Mckay.
Ooh, very nice. I went with, I think, somewhat of a similar vein. I went with someone that I do feel can do both comedy, but can do, drama stuff as well. I think we're kind of in the same category here. He was known for Boogie Nights, Magnolia, There Will Be Blood, Punch Drunk Love, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay. So I want to get the heavies out of the way first. I want to save our artists for last, if that's okay with you.
Totally.
So let's start. Who is your Tipper Gore?
My Tipper Gore, I struggled on this because I want to, again, when you do these types of things, you got to pick people that look like people. And I thought that Amy Adams would be perfect for Tipper Gore.
Okay. Well, as soon as you said Amy, I thought we rested on the same pick, but we didn't. I picked Amy Poehler.
Ooh, okay. All right. So we also agreed that we were going to do Paula Hawkins. Because
Senator Paula Hawkins. Yep.
Correct. Who do you have for your Paula Hawkins?
Yeah. So, I mean, you did the research into this. I didn't. You gave me that name and suggested her as a cast member or somebody that we're picking the cast for.
Yes.
So really I watched a couple of her testimonies just to get an idea of who she was. And
an older lady.
Older, yeah, not old, but older. So the best pick I could think of for her would be Jane Lynch.
I like that. I think we were on a similar wavelength in a way with looks and kind of things. I went with Laura Dern.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, then let's get into the fun part here.
Oh yeah.
Let's start with my boy. I am a huge John Denver fan. Who is your John Denver?
I want you to go first on this.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do.
Okay, because you want to go first on Frank Zappa, right?
I do want to go first on Zappa.
That's understandable. Okay, well, yeah, just a backstory here. I, as I've stated, am a huge John Denver fan. I think he is underrated. Even as popular as he was, his musical abilities, there are few that can touch his voice, his vocal ability, his vocal range, and his guitar skills, honestly. So I wanted a musician or somebody that can at least do music because I want to incorporate that at least a little bit into this. It wouldn't obviously be a big part of the movie, but I wanted at least this person to be able to sing well.
Okay.
And looks to a degree. You look at him long enough, there are some similarities. John Denver is actually a pretty good looking guy.
He was. Yeah, he was.
The hair and glasses kind of hid that a little bit.
Yes.
I've tried to push this guy before. You were adamantly against it last time. So maybe we can give it to him this time. I don't know. I went with Zac Efron.
Okay. I went with someone that looks like him. I went with someone that I also kind of has some chops there. I'm not in love with my pick, but I went with Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Okay. Okay, well, let's get to what I feel you've been waiting for. Who is your Frank Zappa?
Oh my God. Okay, so I am a huge Frank Zappa fan.
And I want to say, but before you get into it, I would honestly be super surprised if we didn't land on the same person, but go ahead.
It's very possible, and I think we're thinking the same thing here. This guy's been known to do some really crazy stuff outside of movies. Kind of a arts guy, kind of a crazy individual. Been in the news a lot. Are we on the same page here?
We have the same guy.
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh God, no.
No. Okay. Who do you have?
Wow.
Yes, I went with Shia LaBeouf.
Oh wow. Yeah. No. The ramp up that you had there totally had me thinking we did have the same guy because same things apply. He's an actor. He's kind of a chameleon of sorts, but he also is tall, which is important because Frank Zappa was a pretty tall dude.
Sure he was.
And there are some similarities there in looks.
Okay.
And he's kind of a troll. Sasha Baron Cohen.
Oh, motherfucker. I didn't even think of Sasha Baron Cohen. Fuck. I'm so pissed right now. All right. Who's your goddamn Dee Snyder?
All right. I had fun with this one. I went way outside of the box here. Because Dee Snyder, when he showed up at the congressional hearings, showed up in full Twisted Sister persona, makeup, and all of that. So we our choices are limitless as to who we can cast for this because of that fact. So I decided to just go for it. Maybe a little too far, we'll see. I cast for the role of Dee Snyder, Lady Gaga.
Wow. Okay, we'll discuss. That took me by left turn. I went a little bit more in the box. I went with a guy that, I went with a guy that has the comedics, but can do drama, and is a funny dude. And again, we could cast anyone because he did show up in that, and I think that he could portray some of the Deadpool that he brought in, Ryan Reynolds.
Okay.
Now, real quick, I want to bring this up because I know some viewers are going to have questions on this. Wasn't this already a movie? Wasn't this made? Here's the thing about that. There was a made-for-TV movie that was about a guy by the name of Charles Burner that took on this big court case and did all this stuff. Here's the thing. In my research, I cannot find that Charles Burner was involved in anything or a real person involved in the cases, in the hearings during this time. It is to my understanding that he was brought up as a narrative character to help make the movie a movie without focusing on, again, movies were very cookie cutter at the time that came out, especially made for
TV movies. Yeah.
They don't
count.
One was going to go outside the box.
Those movies don't count. I'm going to say it right here. Movie on VH1 in 2001 or whatever doesn't count as a real movie, and that was just a Jason Priestley vehicle. That wasn't. This would be an actual film about the topic. It wouldn't be an excuse to put Jason Priestley in a movie and have a $50,000 budget to try to tell an actual story with a terrible production. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I don't know who was all involved, but yeah, it wasn't a real movie though. So sorry.
No, and he wasn't a real person. So no.
Right. So yeah, that doesn't count. Okay, let's talk about our picks.
Yeah, fuck.
All right. So director, I had Adam McKay.
Yep. I had Paul Thomas Anderson.
You had Paul Thomas Anderson. Now here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to burn PTA on this?
God, I'm torn on that, dude. All right, walk me through this. Well, help me with this.
Okay.
Because to me, this is like a big thing of history. Like, this is something that really ties into, especially what's going on now. I mean, this was really the start. Yes, they picked porn rock, but they really went after minority music, and they really slapped it hard. I mean, you and I were laughing during this thing. I can't imagine that some of the people in the Senate, knowing that they molest fucking children, are concerned about fucking Sheila Easton's sugar walls. So what do you think?
Wow. Okay.
I went deep. I went deep there.
You went deep, but I don't see this movie working.
Okay.
First off, I don't see Paul Thomas Anderson doing it.
Okay.
And I don't see it working unless there is an absurdity to it. And he, I mean, Punch Drunk Love would be the closest thing you could say and that's still pretty far away.
Okay, fair enough. I'm gonna concede and give it to you.
Okay.
Yep, you made a good point. So
Tipper Gore, I had Amy Poehler. You had Amy Adams.
Mm-hmm. Here's my concern with Amy Poehler, and I like Amy Poehler. I like Amy Poehler. I don't love Amy Poehler. Okay. Much like a lot of other comedians that I would put on the upper mid card, like to the upper echelon.
Mm-hmm.
The problem to me with Amy Poehler is she plays the same character constantly. Can you give me an example where she's not Amy Poehler?
I would say you're talking more like her Leslie Knope character from Parks and Recreation. She kind of has that.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I picked her, because I mean, Leslie Knope is not Tipper Gore, but
Mhm.
there's a political bent to the committee hearings, stuff like that. But I'll give you Amy Adams. I'm
Okay.
fine with that. I don't.
Yeah, and I think we could use Amy Poehler in something better than this.
Yeah. Well, we
Than
probably could have used Amy. She's pretty good too.
Yeah. Well,
she's
no,
got-
I agree.
Got
but yeah.
arguably more range than Amy Poehler does, but no, I'm fine with giving you that one.
Okay. Paula Hawkins. That's a wash to me, dude.
You think?
Who'd you pick again?
It's a
No,
wash.
I know, but I want to hear it. Jesus.
Yeah, it's Jane Lynch.
Yes.
I forgot who you picked. I'll just be
That's okay. I picked
front.
Laura Dern.
Oh yeah, I'll give you Laura Dern.
Yeah,
I'll give you Laura Dern.
I like. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it'd be a similar acting bone to what she did with Big Little Lies. I could see her. Yeah, I'm fine with that. We'll give you Laura Dern there. So right. John Denver. Is Zac Efron finally going to land a role in one of our films? Is the question.
I'm going to give you Zac Efron.
Yeah, because you don't want, for one thing, you don't want to burn Joseph Gordon-Levitt on this.
Nope, and I'm content with Zac Efron playing John Denver. He's not actually singing. He's going to be sitting there. He's going to be just doing some talking, which he did in that where he played the serial killer. So I'm fine with it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Frank Zappa, then.
Motherfucker, you cocksuck. I'm so fucking pissed off right now that I didn't think of Sasha Baron Cohen. I am just sad and disappointed in myself. I was just looking at the antics. I wasn't looking at the actor. And, fuck, yeah, of course I have to give it to you. Motherfucker. Sorry.
That'd be for him to play Frank Zappa in a movie.
Oh, God, yes.
It feels like we should have done a Frank Zappa biopic and cast him there.
God, I would love to, but now we can't. But yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we make our own rules. We'll see down the road.
Yeah, we'll see down the road.
We're going to run out of material at some point, so we're going to need to recycle. All right, so Dee Snyder. Here we go. Yep. Lady Gaga versus Ryan Reynolds, huh?
Oh, man. You know what? I'm gonna let you win this, and I'm gonna give you Lady Gaga. Based upon the cast that we've come together with, I would see this fucking movie.
Yeah, it would be a gimmick casting. You'd have to throw a ton of money at her to do it, but people would want to see that. Like, just can you imagine the trailer with her storming into the Senate floor?
Snyder
as Dee Snyder.
Yeah,
you're like, like, oh my God.
Now, before we quit this, I want to bring up a few things here because this is there's a lot of political shit we're talking about in here. Yeah. I've already prefaced it. I'm not going to go into the whole whatever. I want to talk about Frank Zappa and Dee Snyder a little bit here. John Denver was awesome. Frank Zappa, a lot of people don't understand Zappa. And would you agree with me that a lot of people don't understand Dee Snyder?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Frank Zappa, one of my favorite things was when he went on Crossfire. And he said, you know what? And then he was getting nailed on this deal. And there was a very conservative gentleman, and he was, harping on him. And he's like, you know what? You may not like it, but guess what? I am a conservative. And this guy's like, you can't be. He's like, how dare you tell me what I can and can't be as a conservative? This is the shit. This is the stuff we're talking about. You want to keep things out of this. You don't want government doing these things, yet you're fine with it coming after my music. Why? Or going after anyone's music. It's not just about me. You guys are stifling this. Now, Dee Snyder was friends and considers himself a friend of Donald Trump. However, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, I know where you're going with this. Yes. I actually think I read what you read. So yeah, if you don't mind, I'll take over because I actually used to watch The Celebrity Apprentice. Mm-hmm. I will admit that I did that. I can't go back in time and change that. That did happen. And Dee Snyder was on, if I remember, 3 seasons of that show. Played a pretty prominent role. He's a likable guy, Dee Snyder. I mean, I remember knowing him post Twisted Sister from, I forget. He used to do like a rock show.
Yeah, he still does it.
Syndicated rock show. Oh, that's still going on? Okay, well, good for him. But he had mentioned that, him and Donald, had become friends of sorts after filming The Celebrity Apprentice and got to know the family and each other's families and whatnot. And then Donald Trump ran for president, and then Donald Trump started to speak, and then Dee Snyder couldn't do it anymore. And as of now, he no longer considers himself to be friends with Donald Trump, just based on who Donald Trump has shown himself to be.
And he took away, he said, you can't use my song. Can't use my song. And he actually came out last year and said, my song's open, but you have to be pro-choice.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he said in an interview on the news, he said, a pro-choice candidate, they have to be pro-choice. That's my prerequisite now for anyone using my song. And the last thing I want to bring up is a little bit of a conspiracy theory. There, on the undertone of this, there was something else going on with then President Ronald Reagan. There is a idea. I don't remember what the project's name is off the top of my head, but that Ronald Reagan was actually instrumental in this Senate hearing happening. And Ronald Reagan himself wanted to turn radio to purely classical music. And this was his attempt to test the waters to see what the public was going to do.
Like that. What when you say classical, are you talking about Beethoven, Mozart?
I'm talking about Beethoven, Mozart, no lyrics, instrumental only. Could be new instrumental, but instrumental only. And that was going to be FM radio, all stations. And this was his attempt to see how the record companies would push back and the artists would push back, because the idea to him was, and I don't know if it's true, I can't say 100%, but in the idea of that was being tossed around by Ronald Reagan, that if they could get these songs, with all these different X and B and O and all these different letterings, then they could make a point of, if you want to buy and listen to it, fine, you can go and buy and listen to it. But we're done having any form of lyrics and anything like this on public radio, because we're not going to sit back and listen to everything. I hinted at this whole idea before that, they wouldn't be able to do it. But that was what Ronald Reagan wanted to have happen in his presidency.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that does it for Parental Advisory, the movie. All right. Yeah, I think we got a solid cast out of it. I'm pleased.
Yes, and I know I hit you guys with a lot of information, but this was really fascinating to me.
Yeah, and it's one of those, it had happened. It was a big deal at the time, and now you take it for granted. For one thing, radio's not much of a thing anymore, but you take it for granted that you can hear, lyrics that are provocative, and then you go back, to 1985, and far less provocative lyrics cause, big hearings, and who knows how it could have played out.
I'm going to repeat this lyric. Blood races to your private spots. Let me know there's a fire. Come spend the night inside my sugar walls. Dude, that'd be on Light Rock. That's the light station. All right. You think about it now that, they don't even censor it. They just bleep it out. Yeah. So big difference.
All right. We will go to our last break and come back and say our bye-byes. All right, we'll be back in a minute or roughly less. We at the Bacon Grease Brewing Company are proud to unveil our exclusive summer brews, available for a limited time only. After a long day tossing the ball around with your grandpappy, crack open the new Catcher's Mitt Lager with notes of leather and chewing tobacco and a bitter June bug aftertaste. It's the perfect summer beer for a lazy summer evening. Prefer a hearty stout? Try our new soft pretzel stout. with notes of salt and doughy bread and a hint of honey mustard. It's the perfect complement to an afternoon fishing trip with the boys. You need a good IPA to bring to the barn dance? How about our Cowpoke IPA with notes of brewed aftershave and pomade and a crisp splash of soggy hay mixed with nickel and baked beans? It's the perfect beer to share with your cowgirl sweetheart after a night of two-stepping. Bacon Grease Brewing Company, Summer Brews. Taste that country summer in your mouth.
Don't give me your reasons to stay. I won't be listening, babe.
Welcome back to Cast That Movie, and we are about to say our goodbyes. Tom, another one done.
Another one done.
Bites
Holy
dust.
shit! And we did it without casting Peter Dinklage and putting his face on someone else.
I mean, to be fair, we can't do that twice. But I think Lady Gaga as Dee Snyder. I think we're keeping our left field picks firmly in place. They're being well represented.
I am ashamed of myself that I did not think of Clint Howard as Dee Snyder.
Clint Howard on stilts.
On stilts.
And a lot more makeup than you needed for a Dee Snyder.
You need 2 wigs.
Oh, Clint. Oh. All right. So we haven't even talked about what we're doing next episode. We have no idea.
No. Now, I should bring up, before we do we have an idea for what the next one's going to be?
I don't.
Okay, I don't either. So we'll come up with it. So it'll be just a surprise. How about that? We'll just make a surprise one.
Special surprise episode.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna go. We're gonna push ourselves and go outside the box on these ones. All right.
Yeah, it's gonna be a surprise, and we're gonna have a surprise new game. I'm gonna throw that out there right now too.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
It's all fresh.
So, Joad, what do you have going on?
Like in life?
No, like in other podcasts.
Oh, sure. So the other podcast I'm a part of that you are a part of as well is our Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office podcast, where we talk about every episode of The Office from finale, starting with the pilot to the finale. And we are currently going to be airing, let's see, when we air this, I believe the next one to air for that will be Hot Girl.
It will be Hot Girl. Yes.
Yep, season 1, episode 6 of The Office. So a lot of fun. We do it with our friend Joe, and they're short. They're a lot shorter than these, so easier to listen to on a commute. Whereas these you can split, over 2 commutes. But yeah, that's I think going well. We are, like I said, ending season 2, or ending season 1. Looking forward to starting season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, Bears Beats Bobbleheads Talking Office. Find it.
Yes, and for myself, I work with when we do Bears Beats and Bobbleheads, we do that with Joe Fremming, and I'm in another podcast with him, which is talking about Podcast Above a Convenience Store, talking Twin Peaks. We are currently in the home stretch of that podcast, as when this one comes out, episode 5 of season 3 will be coming out. And there's a total of 18 episodes in that season, so we're almost done there.
And are you doing 1 per episode, or
we're doing 1 per episode on this particular one? In the past, we've done 2 when it came to the series because we could. This time around, because it's a lot more going on visually, and it's very Lynchian, so we are dedicating an episode per 1 episode per episode, which has also made it a little bit more easier to digest.
Sure. All right, so yeah, check that out also, and then and our friend Joe runs the joedown.blog, and that is where you can find all of these podcasts in one centralized location, as well as other pop culture fun and games. So check that out as well. All right, so we have no teasers for next episode. We're just going to do our best to come up with the best possible projects and the best possible new game. And you guys are going to have to tune in to see if we are successful.
I agree. I like it.
All right. So, we will be back in 2 weeks with something. We'll be here. Until then, bye.
Bye.